It is the year 1837. You are a young woman living in London who's just gotten engaged to a man you don't love. Your mother had set up the match with her friend Lord Fotheringham, an aristocrat with a vast fortune and a title that will make you a baroness. But he's old enough to be your grandfather, and his only interests are smoking cigars indoors and beating his horse. Clearly, the only way out of this engagement is to run away. So you slip out of your house at night, narrowly escaping your overprotective mother and her hired goons, and hop on a train to Liverpool, where you intend to stow away on a ship to America. You quickly discover, however, that the docks are patrolled by the constabulary, but you manage to sneak onto a vessel just as it's about to leave. As the ship sails through the stormy seas, you find yourself growing closer to another stowaway, a handsome young man named Oliver who's running from his own demons. Will you two find love on the high seas, or will you be caught and forced to return to England? Or maybe you could just stay on the ship forever and become one of the Seven Seas butlers. Well, obviously that last option isn't available to you because it never existed. Not in the 1800s or any other time in human history. Because for some reason, the concept of a butler who travels around the world on luxury ocean liners helping wealthy people do absolutely nothing just kind of never occurred to anyone ever. And the reason for that is probably because the internet didn't exist back then. If it had, though, things might have been very different. What if the internet was invented in the 1800s? For starters, there would have been no escaping your meddling mother. With modern technology, she would have been able to track your every move, finding out which train you took, which ship you snuck onto, and even which compartment you were hiding in. No, thanks to security cameras installed on every street corner and inside every building, she would have easily spotted you and summoned the authorities before you even finished reading Oliver's poetry. Not that the police would have even needed her help, though, because the entire city of London was equipped with a network of telegraph wires that allowed them to communicate instantly with each other and receive live updates on any crimes being committed. Even more advanced technology existed in theory, like the telephone, which had actually been invented in 1876, just a year before Alexander Graham Bell was born. But unfortunately for all of humanity, the patent for this device was bought up by the British government, which promptly buried it, possibly out of fear that the general public wouldn't be ready for such powerful communication technology. So, what does this mean for our story? Well, simply that there was literally no way to hide from the law back then. If your mom found out you were trying to run away, she would immediately contact the nearest constable, who would instantly know your location and surround your ship before you even set sail. So you would have to get away from her somehow, which would be next to impossible since the internet also existed back then. The World Wide Web was invented in 1890 by the inventor of the World's Fair, who wanted a better way to keep track of all the patents he was filing. But it quickly spread to other industries, allowing entrepreneurs to sell their products directly to consumers without having to pay middlemen. So if you wanted to buy a new corset or a top hat, you could just visit the manufacturer's website instead of going to the store. But that meant that the store owners and manufacturers had to compete against each other to get attention. This led to the creation of the first search engine, which was used by people to compare prices and find the best deals. But how did they even find this search engine in the first place? Well, that's where the newspapers came in. The Associated Press was founded in 1848 by two former clerks who had access to the nation's telegraph lines, allowing them to deliver breaking news to subscribers across the country. But soon, everyone was clamoring to get their hands on the telegraph, including businesses that wanted to get in on the action. Before long, it became impossible to separate real news from blatant advertising, leading to the rise of the first independent news websites, which were supported by subscription fees. That's right. Back in the 1800s, you could pay a monthly fee to access your local newspaper online, completely free of any advertising. And those newspapers were full of juicy gossip that would make today's TMZ look tame by comparison. For example, you could read all about the latest scandal involving the royal family or the most recent murder in the city. But what if you wanted to learn about something that hadn't happened yet? Well, that's where the first social media platform came in, a bulletin board system called Usenet, which allowed people to post messages that would be delivered to anyone who subscribed to the same topic. This led to the creation of the first news groups, which allowed people to discuss everything from politics to pornography. And let's be honest, that hasn't changed much today. But this also created a huge problem, namely spammers. Oh boy, they were rampant. To make matters worse, identity theft was also a major issue. It was actually so bad that the U.S. Congress held hearings on the matter and even considered passing laws to regulate it. But ultimately, they decided to take a hands-off approach, believing that the free market would solve the problem eventually. But in the meantime, there was only one way to protect yourself: hire a private investigator. They would watch over your shoulder while you browsed Usenet and warn you whenever someone tried to steal your identity or post something scandalous about you. Plus, they could also track down anyone you wanted, whether they were hiding in America or abroad. All you had to do was provide them with a few details, like their name, address, phone number, and social security number. So let's say you were a private investigator in London who specialized in tracking down runaway brides. Your office was filled with wanted posters of women who had skipped town after getting cold feet about their upcoming nuptials. But one day, a new case came in. A Lord Fotheringham. You might know him. He was offering a hefty reward to anyone who could locate his daughter, who had run away from home after discovering that he had arranged for her to marry a man nearly twice her age. Being the most competent private investigator in London, you accepted the case and got to work. You checked all the usual spots, the train stations, the docks, even the local tavern frequented by stowaways, but no luck. She had vanished without a trace. Just when you were about to give up, though, you remembered the newly launched global telegraph network. You sent a message to all the major cities asking if anyone had seen the girl and waited patiently for a response. Meanwhile, as days turned into weeks, you started to feel hopeless. Then, one day a telegram arrived from New York saying that the girl had been spotted at a local church. Without wasting a moment, you booked passage on the next ship to America and set sail for New York. When you finally located the girl, you found that she had become quite friendly with the crew of the ship and was showing no signs of wanting to return to England. So you decided to follow her to see where she would go next. She eventually made her way to San Francisco, where she boarded a train to Los Angeles. As she got off the train, you approached her and introduced yourself. "Miss, I'm here to tell you that your father is looking for you." "Oh, no, don't tell me he sent you," she said, terrified. "He can't have known I made it to America." "Actually, he contacted me through the telegraph network. He wants to know if you're coming home." "I could never go back there," she said, tears in her eyes. "He's already found someone else for me to marry. A man I don't even know." "I understand," you said, feeling sorry for her. "But you can't stay here either. You're just delaying the inevitable." "How do you mean?" she asked. "Because sooner or later, your father's going to send someone else after you. Someone who won't be so sympathetic." "Oh, I didn't think of that," she said, suddenly realizing the gravity of her situation. "Then what am I supposed to do?" "Run away," you said. "You need to get out of here before your father sends someone else after you." "But where could I possibly go?" she asked. And that's when you realized that the girl wasn't just running from her father, she was running from her life. And the best way to escape that was to help her start a new one. "How would you like to become a famous Hollywood actress?" you asked. And with that, you ushered her into the back of your carriage and drove her to the nearest movie studio. If you want to learn more about the history of the internet, check out the series in the description below.